Hello there, and today we are with my very good friend Reece Hill and Virginia Walters' top electrician. Reece,
yeah, that's
welcome
true.
to the show.
That's very true. Morning. How are we doing?
So Reece today is going to help us with some tips and tricks on everything electrical. So Reece, when we are looking at properties, what's the main thing when we're doing our viewings we should look at in terms of the electrics?
Okay, so when you're thinking of buying a property, very important to get a professional, qualified electrical engineer in to carry out an electrical survey of the property. So that person can determine for you, the buyer, the actual state of the electrics, the wiring, the fixtures, the fittings. Does everything work? Are there faults? Does it need a rewire? Because obviously if you're buying a property, you're going in blind. You don't know whether that electrically is safe and sound, or whether it needs thousands, possibly tens of thousands of pounds of work, which can obviously affect the buying price and can affect your decision on whether or not to buy the property in the first place. So especially if you're moving in with a family, you want to make sure that the property is safe and sound electrically for you and your family from the day you move in. So it's a very wise thing to do.
Okay, and say it does need a full rewire, a three-bedroom, semi-detached property.
Yeah.
How much does that cost? How long does it take?
Okay, so a rewire, the cost of a rewire for a three-bedroom property can differ greatly on things like how many sockets do you want in each room? Do you want one? Do you want 21? Do you just have one ceiling pendant hanging from the ceiling, or do you, like you, Rory, need lots and lots of spotlights in the ceiling so that you can make sure that you look fantastic?
Well, absolutely.
At all times, in every mirror. Of course, and yes. You do have a lot of mirrors. You've got mirrors on every single wall.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of your room. So it depends on. So basically, if you were to keep every room down to 3 or 4 sockets and one ceiling pendant, that's going to be a lot cheaper than 10 spotlights in a ceiling and 10 sockets. But 3-bedroom house can cost around, I'm sort of just plucking a number from the sky, but I mean you could be looking at about £10,000.
Wow, so I mean if something does need a full rewire, that's, you really got to factor that into the figures when we're making offers. You do, and also do you go with just cheap white plastic fixtures and fittings, or do you go with shiny chrome, which is obviously a bit more expensive? Do you go for a top name brand, which is more expensive? Do you go for a cheap one? So there's lots of different factors that come into play. But for a 3-bed house, £10,000 is probably on the low end of what it could cost. And these are the things that you can't really tell by just looking at the property.
No, you wouldn't know. Yeah, I mean, I went to a house to do an electrical survey a couple of years ago, and I don't know whether the existing owner had done this or somebody else, but they changed every single switch and socket for lovely brand new fittings, and they painted everywhere, a new consumer unit, and on the face of it, it looked absolutely fantastic. And you walked in and you thought, wow, this place looks great. But when I started to take the fixtures and the fittings off, the light fittings down, the switch plates off, the sockets off, the wiring must have been at least 60 years old, and it was all starting to perish. And as soon as I sort of gently moved the socket or a switch out, the wiring was beginning to sort of crumble away.
So definitely a full rewire.
Yeah, I mean, I had to, so I kind of pulled the main fuse and I said to the person, you just can't, you can't use this. You can't use this electrical installation. It's dangerous. So
tricks people use.
The tricks people use. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So also we need an electrical certificate now as buy-to-let landlords.
You do by law, yeah.
How much does one of those cost, and how long do they last for?
Okay, so as a landlord, you are duty bound by law to provide what we call an EICR, an electrical installation condition report, which is basically like an MOT for properties electrically. By law, the landlord has to have one of those done every 5 years. If it passes, fantastic, just like a car MOT, brilliant. That's valid for the next 5 years until the next certificate has to be arranged. If it doesn't pass and is deemed unsatisfactory, then again, by law, you, the landlord, have got 28 days to get all the recommendations that the electrician will tell you that need doing done. Has to be carried out, has to be done, certainly before any new or prospective tenant moves in. You've got 28 days to get that done, and then tested again, and then new satisfactory certificate is issued. The cost of that varies obviously on the size of the property.
The bigger property,
most
the more
people,
expensive it
yeah, as a rule of thumb, a one-bed property starts at about £180 plus VAT, and then goes up in increments of £20 per bedroom. So a 2-bedroom would be 200, 3-bedroom would be 220 plus VAT.
Right.
That's roughly. I don't know how that.
Figure,
yeah, I don't know how that varies sort of up and down and across the country.
Yeah, obviously we're in the South England, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit more expensive.
I think so. But as a rule of thumb, starts off at 180 plus VAT for 1 bedroom, and then goes up in increments of £20 per extra bedroom. But if you think about it, that's not a lot of money to have peace of mind.
No, absolutely, and this never used to be a thing. This is more
No.
of a recent thing.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So if you're a prospective buyer, you'll get peace of mind knowing that what you're putting, tens, hundreds of thousands of pounds of your money into is a safe buy. And if you're a landlord, then you'll have peace of mind knowing that you're providing a safe place for your tenants to live in.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely a good thing that's coming.
Yeah.
And with pat testing, do we have to have a pat test as a buy-to-let landlord? Or is it more recommendation?
It's a recommendation that every 12 months you have a pat test, which stands for portable appliance testing. But don't be put off by the word portable. It's not something that you can literally unplug and move around. So, for example, a wall-mounted electric heater that might be hardwired into a switch fuse spur, that still has to be tested.
Really?
So yeah, every appliance that you've got should, every 12 months, be tested for your tenant safety and for your peace of mind. Again, that's at the moment, that's just a guideline. But I always say to all of my property developers and landlords, you should have that done, because if anything happened, you just wouldn't be able to live with yourself if you knew that an appliance had a fault and it had set a fire somewhere. So it's all about peace of mind, I think, really, isn't it? And safety.
Yeah. I suppose the legalities of that, if you haven't had a test and then in a place that's alight.
Yeah, some insurance companies, the first thing that they'll ask for is a valid, satisfactory electrical certificate, a valid, satisfactory in-date pat test. And if you haven't got those, then you're in trouble. Yeah. So, and again, the cost of that, a pat test, I think obviously to make it worthwhile for an electrician, and you don't have to be a qualified electrician to carry out a pat test. You can be any competent person that's gone for a course and has the qualification to carry out pat testing. That's like a 1 or 2 day course. But I think at the very least, a competent person carrying out a pat test would probably just charge you £60 plus VAT for up to 10 appliances. So I think it works out beyond that, about £1.40 per appliance. So again, for peace of mind, it's not a lot of money to pay out to get that peace of mind.
So when I was 18, I actually did a pat testing course.
Did you?
To my shame.
And what?
I failed.
You failed?
I failed. It was really hard, yeah. Did it with my mum, my dad, and my mum passed me. My dad failed badly.
The family Palmer all went out and took a pat testing course.
Yeah.
So some families all get in the caravan and go to Hailing Island for a day out.
One of my dad's business ideas of we were going to do this pat testing course, and it turned out it was really hard. And the questions are tough. And my mum was the only one that passed, which amazed me, to be fair.
I can't believe you've gone for a family day out to take a pat testing course.
My dad was quite the entrepreneur, so it was always the next crazy idea, and that was one of them when I was 18. So
imagine
I'm
if
glad
that
it
had
didn't
gone
work
well.
out, though. To be fair, I'm glad that didn't work out for me. But
yeah, if that had gone well, you could have been Mr. Rory Palmer Pat Testing Company.
It doesn't quite ring to it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So, Reece,
back in your previous life, you were not always been an electrician.
Are we allowed to talk about that?
We are.
Oh, okay.
We are. You was a manager of bands and pop stars. How was that lifestyle compared to the one you live now?
Oh, it's totally different. Totally different. Yeah, as an electrician now, obviously it's just full of sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
And when I was working for record companies, every night I was in bed by 8:30, just after Corrie, EastEnders, Coronation Street, and in bed with a mug of cocoa.
I'm not sure I believe this, Reece.
But I used to work in the music business. I used to work for record companies. I worked in the promotions department as a TV and radio promotions manager, which basically meant it was my job to schmooze and take out for jollies anybody and everybody in TV and radio and press, form relationships with them in order to, at one point in the future, be able to ring them up and say, "Hi, I've got a band that I'm working on. Do you think you could do us a favour and put them on the front cover of your newspaper, or can you put them on Top of the Pops next week, or can you put them on the high list rotation on Radio 1?" And that's what I did. So basically I spent 17 years-ish just taking people out for dinner, for drinks, taking them on jollies, trips to New York, trips to Paris, trips to everywhere.
Knowing you as well as I do, that is like the perfect job for you, being
I loved it.
people's person.
Yeah, it was great. Can you imagine just jollying for a living?
I can imagine.
Jollying.
So, in all that time, who was the nightmare person you found the hardest to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that are an absolute delight to work with, and especially all the bands and the artists that are new to the business, have just been signed, and everything's fresh, and it's amazing and exciting, and you're looked upon as the person that can really help them and change their lives and make them rich and famous. So they're very, very kind, they're very respectful, they're very nice to you, and that's fantastic. But then sometimes you kind of work with artists, groups that have been in the business for decades, and they've been signed to multiple record companies. They've worked with 20 or 30 different TV, radio promotion managers like yourself, and to be honest with you, they're just bored with it all by then. So they're a little bit harder to work with, and some are just high maintenance because of the gravitas that they hold of being such a huge musician or star, like Madonna, Whitney Houston, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
And have you worked with all these people?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Madonna was lovely enough. Difficult to work with because she lived in this bubble full of yes people. Everybody just said, you don't want to say no to Madonna, do you? Yeah, no. So everybody just says yes. So in terms of, if Madonna says, should I wear these cut down jeans? Do you think that looks all right? Everybody is going to say, yeah, that looks fantastic, Madonna, you look amazing.
And if someone says no, that's a problem.
Yeah, so I basically told her those cut down jeans of yours basically show 3/4 of your backside, the bare flesh on your backside, and we're about to do Top of the Pops. I mean, to be honest with you, nowadays it probably wouldn't really matter as much, but I'm talking about 23 years ago. And it probably was a bit of a problem, and I just didn't think it looked right, and I dared to tell her I was expecting a barrage of abuse back, but as soon as I showed her on the monitor, she totally agreed, and she couldn't believe that her stylist had actually given her a pair of jeans that basically was so low down that most of her backside was hanging out while she was cavorting and dancing around on the stage of Top of the Pops. So there's a little bit of that, but yeah, some of them very high maintenance, and some of them were a joy to work with.
So it's true, Reece, that you are married to a pop star. How is this? What are the pros and cons to be married to someone famous?
Yeah, I'm married to a pop star.
Who is this?
I'm married to Claire from Steps. I know you're a huge fan.
I am a huge fan. Claire's a fantastic singer and a lovely person.
Yeah, anybody that's out there watching this might think, who's that? Who's that? But yeah, my wife is the lead singer of a pop group called Steps. who have been going for a long time, 25 years now. That's obviously not as old as you.
Oh, bless you.
But,
you're too kind.
Yeah, but they've been going
Snoozing me now, Reece.
They've been going for a while. I worked with them from the very, very beginning. And yeah, if I wasn't in the music business, I wouldn't have met my lovely wife.
It's weird, isn't it, how these things...
Yeah, how life takes these little turns. So, yeah.
And your nickname is The Dragon. How did you get this nickname, and why is it The Dragon?
I get asked this a lot, and I suppose I should point out my nickname in general is not The Dragon. That's
just in certain films.
That's something else, which we won't go into. But yeah, The Dragon is my nickname from our kind of training / boxing world that we live in. Well, you live in it a lot more than I do, obviously. And do you know what? To be honest with you, I can't remember exactly how it started. Was it something to do with shorts that I had?
I think it was your first pair of gloves you wore and it had some dragons on it.
Okay,
and then the name stuck.
Yeah.
Everyone always asks me, why is his name The Dragon?
Yeah. So people that know me know that everything in my life is all about smoke and mirrors. As long as I look the part, I can get away with actually not really doing what I'm meant to be doing that great. So when I started boxing, training, kickboxing with you and all the other guys and girls that we have trained with over the last few years, I knew from the first time that I went that I wasn't ever going to be fantastic. So I thought, I'm going to need to look the part, even if I actually am not very good at it. So I thought, in looking the part, I need to have dragons all over the place. So yeah, you're right. My first pair of shorts.
The intimidation was there. Yeah. And Reece is being very unkind to himself. He's actually very good at kickboxing, and I do teach him. And yes,
I don't know what
he's being a humble man here. He's hit me with a great shot every now and then.
I don't know which form of kickboxing you think I'm good at. I really don't. I really don't. But yeah, no. So I thought, at least if I look the part, and in my mind, great kickboxers have got dragons everywhere, not as pets or anything like that. No. But they've got dragons all over their shorts and all over their gloves and all over their t-shirts. So that's it.
So there we go. That's why we were called The Dragon.
Yeah, and it's kind of stuck, I suppose, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Well, here is our interview with my very, very good friend, Reece Hill. Reece, thank you for the tips and tricks.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers, guys. Bye.